Welcome to the Policy Review Committee for November the 13th, 2025. We'd like to acknowledge that we're gathered on the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territory of the Inca, Kapamunk, and Silks people. And first on the agenda, we would like to review the minutes of the October 23rd, 2025 meeting. Do I have a mover and seconder? Any omissions or errors? Okay, carried. Okay, so then we have to turn on her. Wendy, can you turn your mic on so we can hear you? We can't hear you. Councillor Charney is joining us remotely, so we're just having a technical difficulty. I don't know if she's on her. Can you hear us, Councillor Charney?
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Success. Success.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hope you're enjoying your holiday.
That's great.
Okay, so on to new business. We have the solid waste collection and control bylaw. I don't know if the CAO wants to talk about this one, but just kind of reviewing some of that. Yes.
I'm just assuming.
Yeah.
It's on, isn't it?
It is.
I'm assuming that we're going through this today because of what we discussed at the Committee of the Whole on September the 11th. Under new business, official community plan amendments and zoning bylaw updates. And we talked about at that time updating the water utility master plan as well as the sanitary sewer master plan. Is that why we're doing this now?
Well, I think this one is also the garbage collection where the bins are harder to get to.
Yeah.
So for efficiency anyway. But I think the CAO has.
Yes, thank you. So generally related, yes. The overall intent here is we're trying to align our water, sewer, and our solid waste collection bylaws with similar service levels and how we apply the services. So we've noticed in some situations on the solid waste bylaw that we're having difficulty getting around certain types of properties, mobile home parks being one of them. We also get repeated requests for coming and fixing their roads. We're having issues with some rather extensive speed bumps in some areas and having to back up in a excessive amount of areas for which can be dangerous if there's kids playing and things. So we want to be able to service directly off of roads that we're in control of and be able to pick things up at that point and centralize stuff more. And with some of the few outliers, oddly enough, we have some situations where we collect out of bins or the commercial bins and other ones where we go in and do the residential bins. It's not consistent, so we're trying to make it consistent.
Okay. Well, and when you look at other large cities, you see the bins being picked up in one central area with a little room and air conditioning, and with some of the speed bumps and some of the parks, they're pretty high, and I can imagine that must be tough to getting that truck in there and turning radius and whatnot.
Yeah, and the turning radiuses and seeing wear and tear on the equipment bouncing over these things. Also the amount of, with a little bit of expansion in community as far as residential residences, we're getting a lot more bins to pick up that are residential. So moving to more of the commercial side of things where that truck's not as busy and it only works 3 days a week right now, makes a lot of sense to move these larger properties with multiple residences into a bin where we can collect it with a different truck on a different schedule.
How often is the solid waste collected at, say, an apartment? It must be more often than once a week. Is it twice a week or?
In an apartment,
Yeah,
so
with the big commercial bins.
yeah, so the big commercial bins are as paid for, so we offer multiple pickups in a week or
Mhm.
one, depending on how regular they want the service. The truck itself runs 3 days a week.
Okay.
I have a question for the CAO.
Go ahead, Councillor Cherney.
So, we talk about approved garbage bags on page 8 and then under number 16. What is an approved garbage bag?
That's a good question. I've actually had that question of the staff before. Talks about container and it talks bags. The practice has always been that your garbage should be in a contained bag so that you don't get as much mucking of the bins, I guess you'd call it. And then you don't get as many things sticking in them as well. So that way we get a good clean drop out of the bins. So it's trying to deter individual items or food products or whatnot being dumped in the bin without being bagged. Now, do we have a definition for approved bag in here? Or do
Yeah,
we?
you do. You do. The very first one. It's a 1.5 millimeter polyethylene and measuring I gotta put my glasses on. Measuring 66 millimeters, approximately 26 inches in diameter, 91 centimeters in height, and must not exceed 22.7 kilograms. So that's a very specific garbage bag. Now, there's a lot of times where I may be peeling something and I put it into a small garbage bag and then I throw that into the garbage can. So that is not an approved garbage bag.
Yeah, and generally speaking, that's not a problem if it's coming out of the bin, okay? And it's generally bagged. We get a lot of variety on that, but the
Well, I think
sizes
that.
for the bins.
Right, I think that we have to address that approved garbage bag because, you know,
agree.
anyone that's throwing anything in there is not an approved garbage bag, so
Well, but
I think we have to address that.
excuse,
Mayor has a comment as well. Sorry.
So I'm just wondering, CAO, if this is a residual of, so when I lived in an apartment that had a chute from the 3rd floor that went down to the garbage cans, we had to have a specific bag that would fit that. And it was the same thing, almost the same dimensions that Councillor Charney's talking about. Is that kind of a residual that may have moved over from a copied bylaw that we're not aware of? Because when I lived at Kengard, we had to have a specific bag. And like in our house, we have specific bags, but they're all biodegradable now. We biodegrade our bags as well. So I'm just wondering if that maybe is a residual, because it seems pretty specific, as Councillor Charney says. And I guess the question is who's going to check on this? Are we going to send somebody with a measuring tape on garbage to can day or what?
No, I would think you're probably right. It's been in there for quite some time. I would probably recommend that we update the wording to maybe say not exceeding.
Yeah.
So it allows for smaller bags and we don't want bags getting stuck in there and having too much packed in, and that's a regular issue. That said, if for some reason all the garbage doesn't come out of somebody's bin, we do catch a lot of phone calls on that. And if they go back and check and it's not one of the designated bags, that could be easily be why you didn't get your garbage properly picked up out of your can, because you can't sit there and shake it forever,
I think
right?
the biggest thing that people get stuck with is maybe like pizza boxes because they're cardboard and they get stuck on the sides. That's what I see a lot of the time. But anyway, I think Councillor Egan has a comment.
yeah, thank you. All I wanted to say is that, I mean, there are many different types of garbage bags that we can all buy at various grocery stores. So how are you going to say that any of those aren't appropriate?
No, good.
Yeah,
Right,
I think
the same
that has to
question.
be, I think the definition of an approved garbage bag and then number 16 under regulations for all approved solid waste collection have to be looked at. Because number 16 again then says approved garbage bags.
Yeah,
Right, so to that end, would you prefer to see an update to that before on what the approved garbage bag is before it moves forward, or
Well,
would like to see a
I think it just should say a garbage bag.
maybe just maybe something along the wording of, you know, plastic, household garbage or waste bag. Because even sometimes Canadian Tire has, for grass clippings, they even have the paper ones that are biodegradable as well. So if we use something generic stating,
grass clipping shouldn't be in here. though.
no, they shouldn't,
Yeah.
but just as an example, they have a
Yeah.
biodegradable bag. I wasn't going there with grass clippings, because that we should be delivering ourselves to the dump, but anyway.
So if you like, we can address that. If you want to move this forward, we can address that before it moves forward, because there are a couple of
Yeah.
what I'd call administrative things we need to change, because we use specific titles of people in here in a lot
Yeah.
of cases as to who's doing things. We want to make that a little bit more generic,
Okay,
just the city as it were.
Yeah.
And that usually describes the city or anybody delegated to do the work.
Yeah.
But we can look into what's more common on that and bring it at council, or we can bring it back to committee
Yeah.
after we do some more investigating on it. Your choice.
I think everybody's just a little concerned that if we use something too specific, that if we had, you know, we've run into problems in the past with former bylaw officers, so.
No, and this
Long time ago.
this really
Not
would
current.
only be related to when
Yeah.
something isn't being dealt with correctly, or it doesn't come out of the bin. We go back and go, well, that's your reason. You've used too big of a bag and you've crunched too much stuff in there.
Yeah.
Those type of things, right? So-
Or are we addressing in the bylaw, like how full the garbage can be? Because sometimes you'll see these.
So it's supposed to be closed, shouldn't be hanging open.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you,
Is there a
Sometime-
definition of closed in here we need to update?
Yeah, I think you do, because I didn't read that. So I
Yeah.
think that you should have it as not overflowing where the lid cannot be closed.
are we,
Because I know we're guilty of that one.
And that should be in here, because I've read it
Well-
myself when I've checked my own.
are we still going to make the allowances for the major holidays, like after Christmas and New Year's, or? I
They
think it-
have,
Yeah,
it's
okay,
already in there.
all right. Just making sure I missed that part.
So I also on number payment of fees. So, number 41, payment of fees. So it says every occupier shall pay to the city fees and charges for the collection, disposal, and control of solid waste which are payable regardless if the collection services are utilized. So, what about commercial businesses that have a private company? So they're still going to be charged because it says regardless of the service is being utilized. And I also would like to know how they do this on snowbirds. If someone is away for 6 months, they're not using the service, I can see a small fee, but if you're not utilizing the service, I don't think you should be charged.
Well, it's like the water.
Exactly.
I think Councillor Egan and the mayor had a question. Just give them a chance to answer that, and maybe CAO can answer them all at the same time.
So we have the bylaw, which myself doesn't sit the best about. If you have water lines and sewer lines running by your property and you're not hooked up to it, you still pay for your water and sewer. I have a bit of a problem.
I disagree. I think that, yes, you should pay maybe a small fee, but if you're not utilizing that fee, I don't think we should be charging people.
And then you've got to look at the situation of how many kids do you have in school now, Councillor Charlie?
That's a provincial.
But still-
For school taxes, that's provincial.
It's still though, you still pay for school tax whether you have kids in it or you don't. This one, I know a businessman downtown that does pay for garbage pickup, but does not ever get his garbage picked up because he doesn't have a container and he's never had one. So it is out there and it does happen. So I think if you look at other communities in BC, you'll find the exact same thing.
Yeah, the city did not used to charge before, so that has changed.
A lot of things have
That has
changed.
changed in the last 4 years.
A lot, no, A lot of things have
5 years.
changed. A lot of things have changed as we move along here and realize that stuff like this can't be handed out for free all the time. There has to be some sort of charges for it, or else you're never going to get
Oh,
these things paid for.
I agree on that. I think you know, to maintain that service, you pay a portion of it. But if you're not using the service, it's like a telephone bill. If you're not using it, the telephone line goes straight by too. But if I don't have a telephone, then I don't pay for that service. So I can agree that, yes, you pay a small fee, but if you're not utilizing the water, the sewer, or the garbage, then I don't think you should be charged the same as your neighbor who is utilizing that.
So then how would you keep track of that?
That's when you have your water turned off.
Okay, I
So
haven't,
that, then that's the city comes and turns it off with their key. So they know you're not utilizing water, therefore you're not using sewer probably, and you're not using garbage. And then when you turn it back on again, then they know you are using those services again.
So if I may, the way that is written and the fact that we provide commercial and residential garbage collection, a lot of that base fee is for the fact that the service is available in there. So same thing with pipes. We're driving a truck by there every day, or when we do the collection, same thing with pipes there in front of your property. So there's some cost associated with the fact that it's there and available. And then there would be a usage cost on top of that, which I believe we have as well, which there's a base cost and then your flat rate probably breaks down that way. Definitely, if that's something that we want to look at, we can look at within all of the utility bylaws here to allow for a holiday if necessary, but at some point we have to understand that the service is still available, the pipes are still there, and there's probably got to be a minimal amount charged because we're maintaining that system available for your property at all times anyways. Whether
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Councillor Egan?
thank you. I also want to point out, and maybe Councillor Richard can clarify this, but if you are away for more than X number of weeks, it's illegal for you not to have somebody in your house to look after it. Otherwise, your insurance is null and void.
Correct.
So,
Well, there are some instances where you're supposed to have somebody checking your home to prevent freezing of water pipes. So I mean, that's always a good idea. Some people shut off their water and drain pipes, so it really does depend. But I see where it is, the service is available to the home, so I don't know if we can have a reduced rate for vacation or anything, but I mean,
Well,
It's
and that
kinda
would
like
be
with
in
the-
the fees and charges bylaw. Dealt with
which
on
we'd have
that
to
side of
revisit,
things, right?
yeah. Councillor Baxter, do you have a comment as well?
How are you gonna regulate that to show that somebody's away? Somebody could say, I could say I'm gonna be away, but I can put out my garbage can every single week while I'm away. And it'll get picked up because the drivers don't know. They just go next house, dump, next house, dump. So I could be getting a reduced rate for that whole time, but getting garbage picked up every single week. We cannot regulate that.
And
You
you can
can,
also be
and-
using your neighbors, right? Is put your garbage cans or extra ones over to your neighbors or use their cans if they're accessible as well. Right?
It's most
way
likely
it's-
when people have their water turned off, then the city has control over that. Because you go to the city hall, you make an appointment to turn your water off, then when you return, you make an appointment to turn your water on. So they know exactly when you left, when you returned. Now, as far as the garbage, maybe we have to make that different, but I mean, obviously, if your water is turned off, you're not at that residence.
So question, Councillor Sharney. Did you turn your water off before you left?
No, because I'm only away for 3 weeks.
So there's the problem.
And I have no problems. Well, I should not get a reduced rate because my water is running. I mean, we did turn in the house, we turned the water off, but I don't have my water turned off, so I should not be getting a reduced rate.
So
But-
you're suggesting if your water does get turned off, then you should get a reduced rate on your garbage pickup as well?
if you don't want to do the garbage, I don't care. But I mean, most people, if you have your water turned off, you are not in that house. So therefore, you're really not generating garbage. But if you want to just, I mean, I don't know. It's just to
Well-
me that if you officially have the water turned off, then you're not occupying that house. And I don't think very many people are going to have their water turned off and stay in the house and create garbage and then put it out.
As much as I can agree with you on that point, like it does make sense. I just think it's just too much having to look after
It's a lot of,
shut
it's
off
very
and stuff
detail
for
oriented.
that. Like, I agree
But
with
it's
you in
not
theory.
detail oriented. It's very simple. You go in, you make an appointment. The city,
Yeah.
you just phone. The city comes and turns it off, turns it
I-
on. It's
I
very
just think
simple.
it would be a lot of behind the scenes, I mean, we can suggest it to council, like we can forward this one with a suggestion, but I just think it would make a lot of administrative work for the front end staff with billing and everything like that if we did that. So I personally probably wouldn't be in support of it, but I agree with you in theory. They're not there. They don't have garbage. Yes, but we're also trying to balance the books for so many other things that if we're not willing to give a grant and aid, I don't think we should give a grant on garbage either. But anyway, I don't know.
Totally different.
Anyway. Counselor Egan.
Well, I'd like to suggest that we move it to council for further discussion for other opinion.
Well, we can.
Yeah.
We can, but do we amend it as it is or just forward it the way it is? Do we want any amendments?
Would you like us to
We
bring
already
back an
have.
option?
Counselor-
For the discussion?
Counselor
Yeah.
Kearney, would you like that to be presented as an option?
Well, I think that all councils should be involved in that. I think in something that seems to be controversial, then maybe we should.
Okay.
And this ties into number 46. A commercial, industrial, mobile home park premise will be considered vacant if an application for a water shutoff has been approved and will not be charged for solid waste collection services. So I'm a business, I come in and say, you know what? I have to take a medical leave or I have to leave for something, so shut my water off. They're not going to be charged. So why is a commercial, industrial, or mobile home park different than a residential?
Well, they pay a lot more than the residential, so.
It's not that isn't the point though, Adam. The point is, it is the philosophy and the idea behind it. So you're doing it for a commercial, industrial, or mobile home park, but not for residential.
Okay,
Hmm.
and I see your point. I just think that the administration of the billing and everything with the accounting and all that, we're losing revenue and creating more work. To me, I don't know. I don't
Well,
think,
when someone's away, they're not using water.
Yeah.
Garbage is not being picked up. You're not using the sewer, so that is a decrease in service right there.
So if I may, 41 being tied to 46 somewhat, and there's a bit of a discrepancy on how that should read, we can definitely pull this back and clean up and make sure that these things that are tied together make sense, because even reading it now with that lens doesn't make sense to me either.
Yeah.
It did last time I read it, but I read every paragraph virtually on its own, not together, right?
Yeah.
I would appreciate that.
well, I mean, if we have that, if people want to take the time and come to the city and, apply for that, I mean, that's great. But how much
Okay,
work will that
next.
create for,
It's all on
the
computer.
billing department?
So with the knowledge that there's some cleanup to be done there, would you prefer us to try and clean it up and then bring it to council, clean it up, or would you prefer to come back to committee before it goes back again?
I think after all the discussion here, we'd just like to bring it to council. I think
Okay.
we can discuss it as a group. And then just forward it to council, I think, with the cleanup.
Okay.
Then they can have the option. I think even Councillor Cherney would be happy with that.
Yep.
Yeah,
And if you prefer, we can potentially make a suggestion for a wording that allows for utility suspensions. And probably do it on all the bylaws related to this, being 3 of them for consideration, or have one that's basically charged right through as it has been.
I think that makes sense. Yeah, okay, so we'll
One of the biggest things I look at when I look at things like this is, I'm not sure how big of a problem we have or how many people are doing seasonal water offs or not occupying their residence over the winter where they need any of that stuff. We haven't seen, we've seen a number of the pre-booked water offs in the water bylaw that, or the fees and charges for that this year, but I don't think it's a big number. So it may not be that significant to consider the conditions at which we would be able to suspend utilities en masse if somebody is not at home.
Yeah, I mean, most people who aren't home won't be putting out the garbage and won't be using water, so it's probably not, it's probably a non-issue, just.
We can find an example as well and see if it fits. Somebody else has already dealt with it that way.
So on that note, council will suggest that this refer to the meeting with the cleanup then, so I think that's all in favor and passed.
Aye.
Agree, yeah. Great. So now 4.2 Waterworks bylaw amendments. You recommend a council city waterworks bylaw be considered. So I don't know if this one had a lot in it, but I don't know if the CAO wants to talk about this one.
Well, I can. I think the important part is sort of in the background report where, we're talking about, the bulk
Services.
water meters, same type of thing within the commercial mobile home park type environment.
Yeah.
Where right now, if we're doing services to the individual trailers and they don't pay, we're out the money because we can't tie the charges that aren't being paid to the land and get it back through tax recovery. Where that's what we're trying to do in a lot of cases here. It's how you get your service. Are you actually, is your water tied to a city main or are you running off of a private system into your particular place? We don't have a lot of controls of the private systems.
I think one of the big questions that I've had was from some citizens come up recently was they're concerned with where they're being read from because they're worried about it affecting some older pipes and whatnot, but
This largely is about the bulk water meters.
okay,
So the
commercial ones.
commercial type environment.
Okay,
Specifically, the wording here says the city can tie building to the
Okay.
underlying land. Where if we have a mobile home park, for instance.
Yeah.
If the building isn't tied to the property owner for that particular service, and it's only tied to a renter of a pad with their own mobile on it, and they don't pay their bill, we're out the money.
Yeah.
There's no enforcement on it.
so then this can be attaching it to the landowner.
Yeah, so on the water specifically, I think we've got about 27 properties that were done outside of the requirements of the previous bylaw as well that don't really fit right, that have had different situations applied to them over the years for whatever reason.
Mhm.
And this wording would try to clean that up, largely defining the difference between what a commercial service is and what a residential one is, and trying to split them down where a mobile home park fits within the commercial, because they're running a private water system, they're running private roads, they're running private sewer. All the services are being serviced off of those private systems.
Yeah.
Right?
Like a hotel.
Here.
But a hotel is serviced inside the hotel.
Yes,
Right?
but it's still the same
Yeah.
philosophy.
And a hotel is gonna have a meter, for instance, at the entrance to the building, and then everything works off of that.
And that's what you're proposing for mobile home parks then?
Yeah.
Instead of having 27 services.
Yeah.
Counselor Charney, go ahead.
Could I, this is for the CAO, can I have clarification on point 28 under water service
too.
connection? It says where the application for water service has been made in accordance with this bylaw and it is found that no water main extends the full length of a property line, the applicant may have the option to, and it's paid for. So, if I have a large piece of property and the water main doesn't necessarily go all the way to the back of my property?
No,
No, this is referring to the frontage of your property.
Oh, I see. Okay.
to the property
Okay.
line, right?
Yeah, so where the made.
Because
But
typically,
it says the
No,
full
no
length
water
of-
mains extends the full length of a property line. referring to the frontage property line.
Oh, okay, to me,
applicant-
that's width.
Yeah,
Cause
Sorry.
cause the idea would be that the city provides the water to the,
Yes,
the shut off and then-
I'm thinking length, and I'm always
Yeah, I
thinking
misread
as
it.
width
yeah, just
of
to
a
the site,
property line.
to your.
Okay, so
yeah.
that's great.
Then I think that
Oh.
needs to be rewritten.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and that could be something too that's sort of hanging around from way back that hasn't really had attention.
Yeah, because the full length, to
Would be
me,
yeah.
it's
Front to
usually the
back.
depth of a property,
the
not
lot.
the width along the city.
yeah.
So to clarify that, you could put the,
To the service point, maybe?
well, no, I don't
So
know, I've lost for a word. must have Alzheimer's or
How
something.
about
But, you
water,
know,
water service line?
the frontage, the width of the frontage or length of the frontage.
Or the frontage point, access point?
No,
maybe?
it's only
Yeah.
1 point. I don't understand where you get the width out of that
Oh, yeah.
because, the way I read it was supposed to be front to back for depth.
Yes, that's how I read it.
But if you're actually only, if this only refers to where the access point is on the front property line,
Would be
not
frontage.
the whole width of the frontage,
No.
but just wherever the water
Utilities,
main hooks up to your house.
utility service point,
Yeah, something like that.
maybe, something along those
But,
lines.
but this number 28 is specifically talking about the extension through the frontage. So providing an extension is approved, pay for construction of the extra water main or water service which is required, obviously to provide service to that property, right? Or accept refund of monies paid at time of service application. So if you had to pay for your application and we can't service it, you would get a refund. If,
But you don't really say that in this point.
yeah, it's wordy, no question.
Except if
Okay,
money is
never mind.
paid.
I'll drop that one. That one could be clarified a bit.
Yeah, and same type of thing. We're not sure there's many properties that this would apply to where there's not already water main sort of at the frontage of the property. There are a few I'm aware of. And it would apply largely to somebody wanting water service to their property and discovering that the water main is not extended far enough for them to service off of it. So
Okay.
they would require an extension. They would require to pay for the extension. Although I think we're gonna find in a different spot in the bylaw, it says all properties must be connected to the water system. So that in itself sounds like it works against another particular item. So we
Some
need to check for
confusion
that.
there, yes.
Same type of thing, reading things paragraph by paragraph, connecting 40 or so different items. Right?
So I noticed in section 43 where it had the water meters there. With some of the letters going out, what happens when some people refuse to not have them installed?
The water meters?
Yeah,
Well, these are things that we're gonna be discussing, I guess, going forward. Like we're right now, it's a requirement of a new house that gets
Yeah.
built.
Yeah.
Can't get your building permanent occupancy without it. The meter program that we're running right now will come to a close when we've installed all the meters that we can.
Yeah.
And then council will have to make a decision at that point of what the repercussions are. We can use various methods such as potentially charge more for your service until the water meter's there. We can look at alternate solutions for replacing meters, which at this point are unaffordable within the budget that we have to work with, such as meter vaults outside in the city right away, but they're expensive, like $8,000 each compared to a $700 water meter inside the house. We can also look at solutions that would be development control, where there's a note on the land file. You come in for another permit of any kind, the permit is tied to getting your water meter put in. So there's a few administrative things we can do. We're not dealing with those yet. We're just focusing on getting the meters in that we can get in and figuring out how many outliers we have at the end and then trying to make a decision. Because quite honestly, if it's only 70 or 80 houses at the end of putting 2,600 water meters in, that's not a big number. We might be able to come up with a different solution or back off until such time if somebody wants to have a permit to do something, and then you tie the condition of that permit to it.
I have, under water meters number 43, there is a typing. Second line, individual water meter located as close as possible to the entrance point of the.
Which number is that, sorry?
43.
Number 43, second line, to the entrance point of the water. So one of the of those has to be taken out.
I don't see any of those in 43.
Each unit within a Bearland strata development or a townhouse. Huh?
You in the draft or the red line or the current?
I'm looking at the red.
Okay, well, I think that's.
Second paragraph, like in the paragraph there.
Second paragraph, each unit within a Bearland strata development or a townhouse development must have an individual water meter located as close as possible to the entrance point of the water service.
Or in a meter pit, yeah. And then,
Well, we got 243s there as well. How about
Yes,
that?
there's 243s there.
Yeah. Yeah, I missed that one. Good for you, Rick. And then there is another typing error on penalties on page 51, number 81. You've got 2,000, 5,000. So 10 has to come off.
Unless the intent is to have it at 25,000. I've already circled that for
Oh,
administrative.
okay, it's
so,
25,000. Oh, man, you're shooting for the stars, man. I was only going 2,500.
yeah, 2,500,
Okay,
I think is what's intended. Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, so other than that, I don't have any other concerns with regards to that.
I do.
Okay,
Okay, going back to people refusing to pay. What if you're a tenant and your landlord says, well, you have to make yourself available to get these water meters in, and they refuse?
yes,
Well,
for the,
Like I
you'll
said,
have to go to the Tennessee branch.
yeah, right now on the side of those type of things, until we see how big the problem is, I'm not really worrying about it too much.
Yeah.
We started off the overall program with a fair bit of confidence that there was support for a little bit more heavy-handed methods. We're backing off on that right now and just focusing on doing what we can. If people, we're dropping the letters off, we're encouraging people, we're making phone calls, everything we said we do. And the numbers are pretty low right now on non-compliance. We'll see what happens when we get the entire program in. And if the numbers are still pretty low, we can then look at what's important, right? But if we get 92% compliance right out of the gate, we're doing really well, very consistent with other communities. The question is, how do we get that last 10 or 8% completed? There are always other solutions. It's just a matter of which ones are palatable to the community and to yourself when we choose those things. So I don't really want to worry too much about what ifs right now. We're just going to focus on doing what we can. We'll bring the what ifs once we know what the number looks like.
okay. Thank you. That makes sense. So with that, I don't know if there's any more discussion that anybody wants, that we just move that one to council then? Okay.
With the changes.
With the changes noted. Okay, so all in favor?
Yeah, we got work to do on that. Yeah.
Great. Okay, so next line of business is the business license bylaw. So I know that there was a lot of different questions on that one. I was kind of wondering about, I saw a lot of new information in there about the real estate business. Is that where people are maybe advertising digitally and not having a business license presence in the community, or have we run into a problem?
I think there are a number of property management firms that are operating in Merritt that do not have a business license. And that puts them at direct odds with the companies that do have a storefront here in Merritt and do run business licenses. So
yeah,
my understanding is closing that loop, that if you're if you're managing properties from afar, you're still doing business in Merritt.
Yep,
Right.
agreed.
Mr. Green, could I have clarification on, it's under background, number 3 on page 65. The mobile food provisions have been reworked to increase capture and enforceability in addition to designated locations for operation of mobile food businesses and then there's nothing.
Well, I think it's referring to and inspection requirements in number 4 have been redrafted. Probably doesn't need the and, no. Okay,
Yeah, that doesn't, 3 doesn't flow into 4 very well.
I'd like to take credit for all of these mistakes, but I was reviewing it like you guys were, so a lot of this happened a little while back, so.
Well, one question that I had was, we had discussed in the past when we had approved the mobile food business license about where they were going to be located in designated spots, like at the end of DeWolf Way and the park and different spots, because we were concerned. Yeah.
Yeah.
But was that where you had that, those are spots, I thought that was for the bench park locations, or is that supposed to just be for the mobile food?
No, there's locations throughout Appendix A where people will be able to book those spots for their mobile vending
Okay,
and occupy them for the agreement period. And there's the Wolf, it's down by City Hall, Civic Center, Merritt Avenue, different parks, pretty comprehensive spots where we say they can go, and generally not in the downtown core in parking spots in front of businesses that might be leveraged against that. Even the one up on DeWolf's been moved over to the parking areas instead of allowing somebody to be right in front of a business.
yeah, well, so it should be.
Okay, I have a question for the CAO again. I looked at all the designated spots, they look great, but then I think also of 3, now one isn't a food truck, but you can address that one. But there's also a food truck that is across from Norgard. Now, is that outside of city limits?
That's
When
on that's on a provincial highway and it's their pullout.
Okay, so that was fine, okay. And then,
Theoretically, it could probably be enforced on under this bylaw. Because it is within the city limits and it is within road allowances. But my understanding after I've talked to the ministry about that particular location, about picnic table maintenance and everything else, is they put the picnic tables there, it's their pullout. And it's within their highway right away, so that
Okay.
might cause some grief, but it's definitely something worth testing for sure, unless that's someplace you want to continue to see the vending happen.
well, we can talk about that one, but there's also the little bake shop that goes across from Central Park by Century 21. Now I see that's not a designated area, but they do set up their little bake shop there.
If they're on private property, the bylaw wouldn't apply to them if they're zoned correctly for their activity.
Okay, so do we look into that? Because there's also that fruit truck that comes there. So those are 2 things that are on,
And there's also a fruit truck that, gets across the Lions, as we have to go on the right-hand side.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we were talking about, the pullout there.
Well, there's another one down a little farther, another little pullout, yeah.
On Highway 8.
Yeah, around the corner and down a little bit farther, he pulls in there a lot.
There's
Yeah.
also, I mean, I have a fellow come in. We have, somebody out that comes in on our property and I think he told me he had a business license. He sells
oh,
seafood.
right, the seafood.
Yeah,
But he's on private property. 'cause
he's
it's-
on our property, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
he has a bit, I think the only thing.
he's
would
there
be
once a month.
Business license or intercommunity license.
He should have an intercommunity license because he's from Prince Rupert.
Well, I don't know, intercommunity, weren't we only with the Fraser Valley and?
I think we got a note
We
on
have
here
one
how
for the
that
north?
applies back here.
When I had a construction company, I had to get a license and intercommunity from Kelowna.
Yeah.
to work there.
Yeah, I think the last time that we had reviewed the intercommunity, I didn't know if we had had it with the northern communities or if it was just a Fraser Valley. That's the thing.
I think anybody coming into the area, if they want to run a business, they should be checking with City Hall first.
Should be, but
Yeah.
Yes, we have an Okanagan, Similkameen intercommunity business license cooperation
yeah.
with a bunch of communities on that, and we're part of it, so.
Well, first Milkameen, but if that one's from the north, like Prince Rupert, they might not.
Yeah, if you're not part
But
of
they
that
may just have
particular,
their own. They may just have a seasonal one.
No, but if he's coming to do business here in town, I don't care where you're from, should still have to come and get a license.
Yeah.
the spots were specific about the food trucks, right? And I guess what would classify that as a food truck or other type
Yeah.
of vending. The general understanding I had was the locations we wouldn't be enforcing on if they're on somebody's private property. We're controlling the locations that the city has control of.
Yeah. And then there's the other fellow that comes and he sells all kinds of frozen foods, box stuff. And it can be stuffed chicken breasts or steak or
Right,
seafood
yes.
or vegetables, you know? What do you do
Yeah,
about
you're
people
right.
like that? Cause that's sort of a word of mouth contact thing.
So should we also have in here, besides the mobile food trucks, some type of wording that that captures these people that are setting up the seafood, the bake shop, the fruit truck, to make sure that they do have a business license? Or
Well-
is that under some other section?
So the question I would ask you on that is, if you've got a business that is hosting somebody, such as your seafood on your property, would your business license not apply to that with you as the host?
I don't know because it has to do with food safe.
Okay.
And I don't cover that. That's his ballgame.
And I wouldn't suggest that either too, because if there was some kind of E. coli outbreak or whatever, you don't want to be attached to that in your food restaurant.
But you're still allowing them on your property
Yeah.
to do their vending, right?
I mean, for that reason alone, I would say get your own business license, your insurance, liability, everything, because if you go down,
I think he has insurance and like.
more than likely,
Yeah.
sure, yeah, but intercommunity license would be a good thing.
Yeah.
It probably has it. I'm sure he does. Mayor has it.
So one of the other things that we dealt with was, years ago, the food trucks could only stay 2 hours in one spot and then they had to move on. And I think we've finished that. They can now stay there up to 4 or 5 hours. And IHA now, at one time, every time they would, like, let's say we had somebody up at the autocross this weekend, if they wanted to do an event in Merritt next weekend, they had to continually get IHA license for each time. That's now a blanket license for the whole year. They have that now, which is nicer and easier. The other question that I have is when we talk about this kind of thing, at Purity Feed, they have that Apple Fest every once in a while where they bring in all the apple and then the guy's selling beef out of his truck, and then they have all the apples being peeled and the pies being sold. Now, I know they're invited on that property by Purity Feeds. So I'm assuming Purity Feeds is taking responsibility for what's happening there in case somebody gets hurt or whatever. I'm just not sure how the business license would work on that. Because there's lots of people there. There's the honey sale people, there's the apple sale people, the pie sale people, and I think even the grads as a fundraiser have been in there. So I'm just not sure how that all works out. Because I do know that they are invited by the owner to do that weekend. It should be coming up here fairly quick in the next couple of weeks because it's also it's a Christmas situation as well. So I think what we have, and I do believe when we have the guy over selling the fruit down by Century 21 or wherever it is, I believe that they're there on they're being hosted on that piece of property by the owner as well. So I think we need to find out what that looks like and if the owners are aware of rules that they need to follow. So I think that's where we need to go with that because right now I think it's a gray area.
And I have quizzed bylaw a couple of times. Pardon me, go ahead.
I was just going to add, and then there was the flower people that used to go on the grasslands parking lot.
Okay, so I have quizzed bylaw a couple of times on vendors where I've seen them pop up, whether it was a stand on Century 21 property, whether they're in Central Park. Every case so far, Wes has reported back that I've asked about that they did have a business license. So whether or not that's all the time, but I ask a question when I see somebody new, and so far I haven't been stumped on that one.
Well,
But we can,
I think you have to look at, if they have a business license and if that property is zoned for that.
well, like with the Century 21, originally that was the Pierce Bakery when it originally opened. So when it was developed.
they got her Chinese food restaurant way back when too.
Well, no, Double A Market was beside.
Double A Market.
That's where the
is
snake
what-
oil.
Yeah.
But the thing is that then it was a vacant lot, and then in the 90s, it was the Mans had built the piers there, and
But
it was-
that's not just that property, it's
With the
any property.
restaurant.
I think
Yeah.
we have to look at
Oh, yeah.
business license and zoning. For any vendor, pop-up
just-
vendor.
because we had the commercial zones have changed, but I mean, that was originally a restaurant.
I think also. For the pop-up vendors, I wouldn't be so stringent to just say they have to get a license every time they come to town. If they know they're going to be coming back on a frequent or a periodic schedule, they should, they should qualify for a blanket
Well,
city.
there's the
Okay,
half-year
maybe-
license. They can get
Yeah,
a
maybe I
6-month.
used the incorrect pop-up. I meant the ones that are there every week for, how many times?
Well, they can get a
Not just the
6-month.
guy that comes in once and then he's gone forever.
There's the 6-month business license that's available. So they can get that. Okay. You're good. Okay.
Okay, so where we're sitting with this then?
Oh, I still have something else on this.
Okay,
Okay, so, under public markets, 15.1, I see that the public market has to have a $2 million insurance, yet the food truck needs a $3 million insurance. How come there is a discrepancy between the two? I'm just curious about that.
That's a very good question. I'd have to ask it of.
With the public markets like the farmer's market, they're not cooking anything. There's no gas, there's no stoves. So there's no chance of anything exploding at a farmer's market or something like that. But when you're going to a food truck, there's always the possibility of getting burnt, scalded, or they do have serious stuff on board in case it ever caught fire. That's the issue. That's where the change comes in. That's why the liability is higher for a food truck rather than a farmer's market, because you're not supposed to be cooking at a farmer's market.
Well,
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
and typically those other things are not held like at City Hall, where like on the city premises, they want 3 million. But that might be the other part.
Okay, and then I just have, a clerical under mobile food business on page 90. Number 19. Second line, of should be on. That's incorrect grammar. For clarity and proper phrasing, the word must be of, on any day of the year, not of any day of the year. Picky, but that's the way it goes.
Noted.
I don't know how many food trucks are open past 9 PM anyway, but
No, it's not the term I'm working about, it's the word of.
no, I understand. I was just thinking, I don't even think that's gonna be a concern because I don't think they're serving food too many places, but you never know. Ball
But
tournament.
it's in a bylaw, so it's in the bylaw, so it should be correct grammar in the bylaw.
Good thing that Wendy's not handing out tickets or.
Listen, I've got nothing to do but sit in the sun and read.
Yeah, well, don't get a sunburn.
No.
Enjoy it while it lasts. All right, well, on that note, I think we've discussed that with the changes, and I think we'd recommend that we move that one to council for the vote, I guess.
after the research on the investigation on.
Microphone.
Microphone.
Sorry. I just think that we should also, if we're going to take this to council, it should come with a little bit of further investigation and recommendations on the pop-up vendor. business licenses.
Well, they have the short-term business licenses available if they think it's gonna be more than one day, but they should have one anyway.
I
But
think,
the-
I think that's already being addressed.
But I think they have to also look at the business license and the zoning application, zoning bylaw, if they are in a correct area.
So not being having these food trucks and pop-ups in residential. Like, I mean, most of the spots in Appendix A were parks and parking lots like City Hall and whatnot. So what is the biggest concern? Are you worried that they're
well, I
gonna?
just want to make sure that, that they can get a short-term
Business
business
license.
license.
Yeah, which we have. We do have that
Okay.
6 month and we have the 3 month, I think.
So when we do things like Airport Appreciation Day and other things, uh, every time we bring in food vendors, they have to have a valid business license. Most of them will take out the short term, but for the cost, most of them will take out a yearly because they keep coming back every year. So it is required for them to have a business license if they want to be at any event in this community. If a food truck shows up and doesn't have a business license, they don't stay very long because the event organizers, such as the car show, they become the liability if the person does not have a business license. So case in point, which is the trailer from which group was got the trailer from China?
Rotary.
Rotary. So they can use the trailer. It will pass for a business license, but they can't tow it because it hasn't got ICBC appreciation at this point in time. So there are strict rules of these events when people do show up. When we did Airport Appreciation Day with that trailer, we had to jump through some hoops to make sure the event wasn't being held liable. So there are, there are people that are very careful to make sure that each one of these vendors is being operating correctly because the problem can fall on the person who's putting the event on.
Do these food vendors have to display their business license in a prominent location?
I would think.
They
that's
should
their
have to.
standard, yeah.
It's for everyone else.
It has to be seen by the bylaw officer if he comes by. So yes, if you do, it clearly states it on the application that the bylaw officer has to be able to see it at a glance as he goes by. So yes,
And being that most of our events happen in the evening, the weekend when bylaw isn't working, how are we enforcing this?
well, then that's where the person who's running the event, such as when Ray Robinson was the president of the airport, he would make sure, well, actually Melvina made dang sure that everybody had their papers.
Okay.
Everything was signed. So it becomes the hosts are very careful to make sure that they're not under any kind of obligation in case something goes wrong.
Okay.
That's included food poisoning as well. So, they make sure that they have their business license. They make sure that they have their IHA approval. They make sure that the fire department has approved their business to be there, and they all have at least somebody in there has food safe. So that they make sure everything that I've been involved in, they make sure of that.
Great.
Item 41 discusses the display of the license as well.
Yeah. Well,
Yep, you're right.
any other comments? No. So
I have no other comments.
we want to make a recommendation to move that one to council with the changes.
With changes.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, so moved, second, approved, carried. So we don't have any information items, so we're at termination of the meeting. Yeah.